What's up, guys? What's going on? This is the second episode number 2 of the Spun Today podcast. I am your host, Tony Ortiz. Welcome back. Thanks for listening. As always, I'm going to apologize for the sound quality. Again, I'm recording this currently off an iPhone app, and in the future, we'll work on building up the quality of this thing. But for now, it is what it is, so we'll make do. And it actually didn't sound that bad, at least to me anyway. But obviously, I'm biased. Episode number 1, I re-listened to some of it, and sound quality-wise, sounded pretty decent. Actually, I thought. Content-wise, I won't attest to that too much, but yeah, here we are. This episode is probably not going to be as long as the first one. I really didn't think that one was going to be as long as it was. I honestly thought it was going to be like a 15-20 minute introduction type of thing, and then I just got really involved and into explaining the different podcasts and stuff like that I listen to. But this one, I expect it to be a bit shorter, and that's pretty much it. I want to start off with a story from Stephen King's book on writing. After all, I'm gearing this podcast towards having to do with writing, or maybe not mainly writing, but at least heavy on writing. And what better way to do that than to speak of a story of On Writing by Stephen King. Basically, it's the story of Carrie and how he created it. It's a story that resonated with me. It was motivational, inspirational, touching. It was a pretty dope story. If you guys haven't read that book and you're into writing in any way, or just fans of Stephen King and his work, and want a little insight into a nonfiction view of him and his not complete life story, but a pretty decent snapshot of it, definitely pick that up. It's called On Writing, and he goes into pretty much the details of the craft of his process, what he does, like, the real nuts and bolts of it, the brass tacks of, just literally sitting down in your chair and getting the work done. And he goes into his specific process of doing that, and throughout the book he tells stories of, different works that he's published, and just a bunch of interesting stuff in there. I definitely recommend it, and you guys should check it out. And if I was successful in selling you on that idea, definitely go to my website, spuntoday.com, click on the Amazon link, or the Amazon banner, rather, that is found on the contact tab of my website, and it'll forward you straight to Amazon's website. You can search for the book in there, purchase it through there, and Amazon will kick me back a small commission for just driving traffic to their site. This will help me develop from the poor iPhone quality recordings of this podcast to something a bit more respectable. So, definitely, if you want to help out, that's a great way to do it. And again, it doesn't cost you anything extra. It's just a commission that Amazon provides to its affiliates for just driving traffic to their site. Also, before I get into the story, just another bit of house cleaning, or housekeeping rather, whatever you crazy kids are calling it nowadays. The Spun Today podcast is now officially available on iTunes. It's also available on Stitcher. And, of course, on the podcast section of the Spun Today website. Please subscribe, download, rate, and spread the word. If anything that you hear on this thing resonates with you in any way, and you're interested in it, want to continue listening to it, want it to grow, become more popular, just spread the word a bit, rate it, download, subscribe. Really appreciate it. Now, I've told the story a couple of times to a few people that I thought might actually enjoy the story or be into picking up the book and reading it. So, before I tell the main story that I'm referring to, I give a bit of a backstory that he also mentions in the book. But full disclosure, because I know I probably butcher some of it, I haven't read the book, or I've read the book about a month or two ago, probably. So I'm sure I'll probably butcher up some of the details, but the premise of it is pretty much intact as far as I remember. And just don't get your panties too much in a bunch if a few details are off. Pick up the book, read it. I'm sure you'll enjoy it if you even halfway enjoy my little rendition here of this story. So, when Stephen King was a kid, he had an older brother, or he still has an older brother. But when he was a kid, he used to enjoy going to the town to watch movies. He was always into like horror movies and stuff like that, and he used to go with a buddy of his. He was probably like 7, 9 years old or something like that, and it was the type of thing he would go to the town, spend the whole afternoon into the evening there, watch a couple movies with his friend, and go back home. So his older brother at that time, which was a couple years older than him, had some sort of like printing press type of machine thing where he purchased to I know I'm fucking up the reference with the printing press thing. It's like completely predates it, but some sort of machine that prints something out, right? So he used to print out like a neighborhood circular kind of thing and sell it to like his neighbors and his mom's friends and stuff like that. And kind of like a little business that he had going on. So Stephen King, coming back from one of these trips to the town where he saw movies and stuff, he saw this movie that he really, really enjoyed it so much that he wanted to write it. Like, he literally wanted to take the movie, write it out, and to have it for himself, like to read. Before this, he used to do similar things. Like, he used to literally like transcribe comic books that he was into and show his mom, and his mom used to tell him, "Oh, this is pretty cool that you're copying this stuff over, but why don't you write your own thing?" So I guess that started like planting the seed of the idea in his head of actually writing his own stuff. So after this movie, he went home, and from what he could remember from the movie, he started writing out pretty much the movie as he remembered it from beginning to end. And I think he had like 9 total pages or something like that of the movie or of the story. Then he had the idea of using his brother's printing press machine thing to print copies of this, and I think it would cost him like 15 or 19 cents or something like that. After running off each little 9-page booklet, and it'll cost him that much, like in supplies, like paper and like the plastic mold thing that he had to use to make these copies, and ink and stuff like that. He calculated his total cost to be like in that range somewhere, like 15 or 19 cents. Point being that he decided that if he sold a few of the books at, I think, like 25 cents or something like that, he would make enough of if he sold a handful of books, he would make enough of a profit to pay for all his costs and stuff like that, and and make some money. And he thought he would clear like $1.50 or $2 or something like that, and he made a bunch of copies, went to school, and like instantly sold out on all these books. All his like little classmates loved them and really enjoyed them, and he had like something like $9 or $10 or $15 or something like that by the end of the day, selling his books, and everybody really enjoyed him. And his the principal of the school, or the dean or something like that, some grumpy, miserable person, got a hold of a copy of the book and called him into her office, and told him, pretty much gave him the whole, why are you writing this type of trash, and you can't be doing things like this, blah blah blah, etc., and pretty much stifling his creativity there, which sucks, especially since he was probably on cloud 9 after selling so many copies of his book. And she said that he would have to return the money to each and every one of the students that purchased a copy of the book. And she personally went with him around to every person that purchased a copy of the book and made them, refund and exchange the book for the money. And some of the students, actually, as he described, didn't even want to give the books back. Like, they wanted to keep it. That's how much they liked it. And she still forced their hand into making that exchange. So that's that piece of the story. That I liked hearing that, because it shows his like will and determination, and just like having like that visceral connection to writing since from such a young age, and that's pretty cool. And the fact that he obviously stayed in his lane, like he stayed in line with that whole horror genre, which is pretty cool. Now, this next part of the story is around, I believe, like fast forward from when he's a little kid. He's like 9 years old or whatever. Fast forward till post high school, pre-college or during college, I believe, like around that time period. And it's during the summer, and he has a summer job of cleaning, of a janitor, pretty much a summer job with a buddy of his, of like cleaning up in high school and painting the walls and stuff like that, and getting it ready for the following school year that's coming up. I like this part of the story that I'm about to tell you guys, because it takes that mysticism out of writing, or creating rather, and it really shows you it gives you an idea of where ideas can come from, you know what I mean? And you guys understand that more, I guess, after I actually stop bullshitting and just tell you guys a story. So this is how he came up with the idea, at least, for Carrie. So he's in the school, in the high school, cleaning up and stuff, and then he goes into the girls' bathroom with his buddy, and they're like cleaning and painting the wall or whatever. He notices this like metal box on the wall, and he describes it so ill, so in an awesome way. He says like something to the effect of, it looks like it is a metal box, but that's too small to hold hand towels. And he finds it weird, because in the guy's bathroom there's nothing like that. There's like a big metal box with paper towels in it, and then there's that in the girls' bathroom, plus this other little miniature version of that metal box, and he asks his friend, he's like, hey, what's that for? And the guy says, oh, that's for pussy plugs, for, when girls have their own monthly friend or whatever. So it's filled with tampons. And he also notices that in the girls' bathroom, the showers have curtains. And he's like, how come, in the guys' bathroom we don't have curtains or anything like that? And his buddy tells him, I don't know, girls are, I guess, like, more self-conscious and stuff like that, don't like, being exposed like that when they're in the shower. So his mind starts kind of like daydreaming, and he starts thinking about a self-conscious girl in the shower with a bunch of other girls around, typical high school instigating and teasing and kids will be kids type of bullshit going on. And he envisions this self-conscious girl getting her period while she's taking a shower, and the curtains not being closed, and then all the girls around her like teasing her and getting on her and saying, "Oh, you're bleeding," and this and that, and just making her feel like shit, basically. And how like scared and pissed off and angry she would be in like that moment in time. And then this is all like while he's like daydreaming about this like random idea that just popped into his head out of nowhere. Then he makes a connection between this situation and an article that he read in some like obscure magazine somewhere, where it was like some sort of like science magazine, and he read an article of stating something to the effect of women being able to have some sort of telekinesis abilities, and that those abilities are mainly dormant in most women, but you can see like small tiny signs of them, and these small tiny signs are like heightened during that time of the month when women have their periods. And he like instantly made like the connection between that article in that obscure magazine and this daydream that he's having about a girl getting ridiculed and embarrassed in front of all her peers in the bathroom while she's bleeding all over the floor in the shower and stuff like that, and how angry she is and pissed off. And he meshes both together, and boom, that's where the story of Carrie comes from. She gets back at all these girls by, flipping the fuck out and using her telekinesis powers to, fuck them up and, get her revenge, basically. And that, to me, is so awesome. Like, that piece of the story, that origin of this Carrie story. Because it just shows how it can, like, literally just come out of nowhere. This guy is at work as a janitor, cleaning up a girl's bathroom, is daydreaming about one thing, makes a connection to some obscure magazine that he read months before, and has the main idea for one of his definitely his breakthrough novel and one of his most epic works to date. And that's just really awesome. That's really inspirational to me. But also, more importantly, takes away the fluff, takes away the bullshit, takes away the mysticism, like I said before, of where these like stories come from, and how this like common misconception of only a certain type of person can come up with a certain type of story, and this cookie cutter black and white type of mentality or approach when it comes to creating things or doing anything. I'm sure you all know people like that, where they have like this rigid, in order to do this you have to do this first, and A, B, and C, and then comes D. And You know what I mean? Like there is a lot of gray to a lot of things, most of the things that we do. That's not set in stone. That's not, you have to follow this exact path. You can follow your own path and realize your own dream, your own story, your own whatever it is that you're working on. And this is just this piece of the story is just a testament to that, and that's what I like about it. Now, fast forwarding, we went from when he was like a 9-year-old kid, writing stories about rewriting a story about a movie that he saw, to fast forwarding to post high school when he is a janitor and daydreams and gets the idea or the premise of the story of Carrie. Fast forward now to he is married, I believe, has 2 kids, and is working as a teacher at a school. I think it's a high school. I don't remember if it's a high school or if it's a college level, like English class or something like that. But he's definitely working as a teacher, and it's something that his mother like advised him to get a job to fall back on, just in case the whole writing thing didn't pan out, because he always maintained, he always worked towards becoming the writer that he wanted to be. He was always submitting short stories to various magazines, and he would get a bunch of denials, but he would also get approved and published rather, in short story magazines. And he would make $100 here, $50 there, $500 there. He won like a pretty big deal prize for one of his short stories, and it was extra income, but it was the process that he was going to. It was a means to an end, and as a backup plan, he followed his mother's advice and finished college and got his degree to become a teacher or a professor. During this time, he used to write wherever he could. Him, his wife, and his children were living very, very modestly. I believe they lived in trailers at one point in time, like trailer park type of thing. I know they had an apartment that was really small, and they couldn't afford to have a house phone. And back when this took place, I don't remember the years exactly. I think the mid 70s, early 80s, or something like that. There weren't cell phones and stuff like that, so it was pretty much a house phone or nothing, and they couldn't afford a house phone. They had a sickly daughter that they could barely afford the medicine for her. So continuing to write and get his stories submitted and some stories picked up helped to make ends meet for him and his family. I know he also had like a shit car that had a fucked up transmission that would always give him problems and stuff like that. And it was by no stretch of the imagination any lavish type of lifestyle or anything like that they were living. They were really struggling. But he kept on writing every chance he got, and he started trying to develop this Carrie story. And he wrote a few pages or something like that of a first draft, and wound up getting frustrated with it, realizing that he's a dude and his whole cast of characters was basically all high school chicks, and he didn't really know how to bring those characters to life. He didn't have like a connection to those characters, and he didn't feel that he could represent them in a real way. So he got frustrated with the project and chucked it, pretty much crumbled it, threw it in a wastebasket, and went on with his day. And later on that day, or the next day, I'm not sure when, but soon after, his wife was cleaning up his like writing area, cleaning up the house pretty much, and she picked up the Carrie Story out of his wastebasket, the crumpled up papers, opened them up, and she started reading it, and she really liked it. She waited till he got home from I guess from teaching, from working, and she told him, "Listen, I was cleaning up and I saw this story, and I don't think you should throw this one out. I really like this one. I think you have something here. You should continue working on it." And he told her, his doubts with, being able to in a real way bring the characters to life, or like in a credible way, rather being that they're all girls, and he's a guy and he doesn't really have too much insight into that, a high school girl's world. And his wife said that, with that type of thing, she could help him out with that type of, I guess, like the character development aspect of it. And that aside from that, he should definitely continue writing it. And they spoke about it a little bit more, and eventually he took her advice, his wife's advice, his wife Tabby, and wrote Carrie. He continued working on the story and completed it. He then submitted it to his management, or his publishers, company that he was signed up with at the time. Submitted it like he did everything else, like how he used to submit his short stories all the time and stuff like that, and pretty much just wait to hear back a response. And eventually he even forgot that he submitted it. And I am not sure how long it took after, if it was weeks or months, but a significant enough amount of time for him to forget that he even submitted it. And he went on with the rest of his life, obviously, his family, caring for his family, continuing to write and work as a teacher. Then one day when he was grading papers, I believe, like on his lunch period, or he had a break or something like that, he gets a call on the loudspeaker in the school saying that he has a call in the main office from his wife, to go to the main office and answer the call. So at first he got worried, because he instantly made the connection of the fact that he doesn't have a phone, or they don't have a phone at the house, and there was like a blizzard or a bad snowstorm or something like that outside. So in order for his wife to be on the phone, she would have had to left the house, which would entail her taking the kids with her, bundling them up, covering them up because of the snow, covering herself up, going to a neighbor's house and borrowing their phone to be able to call him at the school. So in his head, he instantly made the connection of either one of the kids fell and like broke their leg or something like that, or Carrie sold. So he was half excited, happy, and half excited, like in a scared way, and went to the office, answered his wife's call, and lo and behold, she gave him the good news that she got a message from his publisher or agent or whatever the guy is, that Carrie sold. And the guy left a number for him, for Stephen King to call him back or something like that. And pretty much it was just like the greatest news ever. And they were both happy as shit. So eventually Stephen King gets in touch with the guy, and he lets him know that the book was picked up and that he would be getting a $2,500 advance, which at the time was not good money, even though it was like the 70s or 80s or whatever. It wasn't good money for an advance, but he didn't know any better. and to him and his wife, it was a lot of money because of just the reality of his current living situation, and his bills and lack of comfort, and the way that him and his family are living. His sick kid, he was now able with the $2,500 to get the medicine that she needed, and I think they got a phone in the house now, with the $2,500, and they either fixed the car that was having the transmission issues, or he bought a new car or something like that. So that $2,500 went a long fucking way, given relatively speaking, and it was awesome for them. Then, if I remember correctly, that night, him and his wife were speaking, and kind of both in this like euphoric type of state where they're like super happy, and just like anxious to see what happens. And like his wife, he was like explaining, I guess, like the business side of everything to his wife, and what happens next and how it works and stuff like that, and how much more money they can make, and but how like unlikely it is at the same time. And but just both of these fucking super happy that the book got picked up at all, and he was able to get a $2,500 advance. So his wife pretty much asks him what's gonna happen next, and like they stay up like all night, like talking about this type of stuff, and he describes to her what happened to like a recent, I guess, like the big time authors of that time period, whose names I completely forgot. He explains to her that they recently got advances, and then got picked up by like a national distributor, publisher company, or paperback company, and that's when writers and authors really make money, when they get that type of distribution deal. Which, if that happens, would happen after this stage that he's in now of getting an advance and getting a few books printed. But the likelihood of that happening was like slim to none. But it didn't hurt to dream and fantasize about that happening. So he explained to her that from what he read in some writing journal, that this author made like $40,000 or something like that, or $60,000, when his book got picked up. And she was like in shock. She was like, $60,000? Are you serious? Is that like even possible? Do you think Carrie could sell that much in paperback? And he said it's possible, in the sense of anything is possible type of thing, but it's really unlikely. And then he also reminded her, that's a 60,000. That would be like a $60,000 deal for both myself and my agent or publishing company or whatever. And he's on a 50-50 split with them, so that 60,000 would really be 30,000 to him, and then obviously Uncle Sam takes his cut. So basically, after all is said and done, that 60,000 gets split a few ways, and Uncle Sam's greedy ass takes his piece of the pie, and he winds up with like 15 or 20,000 of his 30,000. But to them, that $2,500 was a lot of money. So imagine 20 grand. So she's ecstatic. He's happy as shit. They're both on cloud nine, just like fantasizing about it, like the way you would fantasize about what would I do if I win the Mega Millions type of thing, or the Powerball or whatever. And they just had like a super awesome night. Then fast forward a little bit more, and I'm not sure how much more forward, but I know it was Mother's Day in the story, and Tabby had gone with their kids to her mother's house to visit her for Mother's Day, and Stephen King stayed back at the house, and I think he was working on like another story or something like that, and the phone rings. He picks up, and it's his agent guy, his publisher agent guy, and he asked Stephen King if he was sitting down, and Stephen King like candidly responds, "No, because I have a phone with a cord, and our phone is located in the hallway, so there's nowhere nowhere for me to sit." So the other guy tells him that he has good news for him, that Carrie was picked up by this national distributor paperback company, and that it was picked up for $400,000. That's $400K. $400,000. Stephen King then, responds in shock, and he's like, "Wait, excuse me, wait, did you say $40,000? Like 40000?" He's like, and the guy's laughing on the other line. He's like, "No, it's $400,000, and 200,000 of those dollars are yours." Now he says that he had a conversation with the guy for probably like half an hour, 45 minutes or something like that, but that he literally only remembers like 2 minutes of it, of the entire conversation. Then after he gets off the phone with him, he tries calling his wife over at her mother's house, and she had already left to go back to their house. So what he did was go down to the town, to the main where all the businesses are, to downtown or whatever, because he wanted to get his wife a gift now, because he hadn't gotten her a gift for Mother's Day before, because they couldn't afford that type of thing, getting each other gifts and stuff like that. But obviously things done changed, and he was now able to get her something. So he goes down to the town, and everything is closed, pretty much except for this pharmacy that's open. So he goes into the pharmacy, and he wants to get her like the most expensive thing that he could find, which wound up being a blow dryer or hair dryer or something like that. And he went back to the house with his gift, and I'm not sure if he had to wait for them to arrive, or when he got back they were like just getting back or something like that. And pretty much he winds up telling her the story, or the recap of his conversation with the agent, and all the money and stuff like that. And they hugged and cried, and we're super happy, obviously. And that's pretty much it. That's the story. So pretty much go from a 9-year-old boy that has an obvious inclination and wants to be a writer, and a drive, a passion for it, to a young adult who's working an odd job and daydreaming, and gets an idea for a story that just pops into his head. Then fast forward to struggling family man, husband, father, who has a day job but also is still pursuing his passion on the side, and is able to burst onto the scene in such a powerful way. And the money obviously is awesome, right? I mean, none of us would turn our noses up at $200,000 check. But more importantly than that is his realization of his dream, his realization of his hard work, his ability now to make his part-time hobby his full-time job. You know what I mean? And his ability to provide for his family in the ways that he obviously always wanted to. So that's it, guys. I thought that was an awesome story and definitely worth sharing. Hope you guys enjoyed it as well. If you didn't, then fuck you, stop listening. No, but in all honesty, though, the book is filled with gems like that and inspirational, motivational little stories and just insight into one of the greatest to ever do it. And again, if you do not remember, if you haven't heard of it, the book is called On Writing. It's a memoir of the craft by Stephen King. And I will actually put in the show notes, I'll put a link to Amazon to make it super easy to find, a link directly to this book where if you enjoyed that story, want to hear more like that, and again just get insights into the craft, I highly recommend the book. Definitely check it out. I'll put a link in the show notes, so wherever you listen to this, if it's on iTunes, if it's on Stitcher, at the bottom, just click on it, expand it, do what you got to do to get like the little description of the episode, and within that will be a link to purchase the book. Aside from that, that's the episode. Please visit the website www.spuntoday.com. Check out the free writing section, which I really enjoy. The Ode to Podcast section, I think is a pretty cool thing. Definitely check that out. We went over the details of that in episode 1 of this podcast. If you want to read some shitty short stories, there's a couple on there now. And some amateur photography that I like to dabble in. Check those out also. Follow me on Instagram, Spun Today on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter, @Spun Today. And Facebook.com/Spun Today. As always, guys, substitute the mysticism with hard work and start taking steps in the general direction of your dreams. Thanks for listening.